Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.
Thanks for joining us on Manhood. Today we're talking about discipline and consistency. I once read that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. I don't know who the author of that statement was, but it certainly is impacting for this topic here today. So discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. And what stops that? Well, the consistency, the dedication, so many other reasons like procrastination. I'm certainly an example of that, as you will certainly hear later on in this episode here of Manhood. So we always aim to be better as brothers on this show. And my brothers today, to my right, we have Kendall Lessie, multimedia technician. Really happy to have him on today. And he's been around listening to most of the shows, and I think we're like plus 70 episodes by now. So he certainly knows the format and the rubrics and all the ins and outs of this show. And to his right, Dexter Simon, transformation expert. We have some stories to tell there, Dexter.
Yeah, definitely.
And to his right, the one and only Niall McNish, Vibes God himself, provocateur, and a regular here on Manhood. So let's get straight into it. As I said just now, discipline and consistency is what we're talking about here today. So many things inside of their discipline with regards to fitness, self-care, discipline in life, and the consistency of that said discipline. I also read about that discipline is also, it is better in that discipline. I don't remember the quote specifically, but the pain than the pain of regret.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
one more time.
So in terms of being disciplined in something is better than the pain of regret.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, even in my intro, Dexter, no secret, you're very well known for transformation of persons' goals to lose weight, to get fit, to whatever their goal is with regards to self-care. And that takes, being part of that course took tremendous discipline. And this was a couple years ago, and I failed. I didn't have the consistency. I did not have the discipline. I went into just wanting to get fitter because I was going into a marathon. And the mindset was there to train for the marathon in terms of the walking, etc. But in terms of the diet and all these other things, just wasn't there. And to bridge that gap, as we say, bridging the gap, it's the bridge between goals and accomplishment. I couldn't understand it. I wanted to do the marathon. I was doing it for my dad to raise funds. I knew I needed to do X, Y, and Z, but yet still,
You just couldn't.
I just couldn't.
Yeah.
But did you complete the marathon though?
I did the marathon.
So the goal was still accomplished.
The goal was still accomplished, but in terms of when I first approached Dexter, Dexter, he didn't charge me. He called me every single day, right? He put other on to call me, including our family member. He did everything I think possible apart from coming to my house, because I think it was just before COVID or during COVID.
I almost did once.
Correct. Apart from coming to the house, and I just, and it started to get to the point of guilt, because like I'd see the phone ringing or doing something, just like, man, you couldn't face yourself in the mirror because I was feeling guilty about myself and the fact that somebody was there believing in me.
And you letting them down.
But
and I let him down.
I think it was the timing. It was the timing too, because most of the times, and I've seen this from transforming over 5,200 people in the last 5 years.
Say that again.
Wow.
5,200 over 25 countries around the world. I'm talking about from politicians, ministers in Trinidad and Tobago to heart and brain surgeons all around the world.
And I just want to say,
from civil servants right up.
There's no Ozempic, eh?
No.
This is
I don't know nothing about
dedication, fitness, and you have to put in the work.
I don't know about
There are no easy way out. They have no lap band. They have no nothing. This
is real discipline. And I've seen over the years, many people come into the program, and some of them, I wouldn't say fail, because to me, failure is you trying to do something and you're just totally giving up and you're stopping. I think a lot of people go on with that mental battle. I'm sure you did. So the story in end there. You understand? Once your conscience running and it's running full circle on you, you're going to keep getting that tap on your proverbial shoulder until one day I mean, look at you now. You're looking fit and good. You understand?
I know I invite you for a reason.
No, you're looking good. And
you know?
you're looking good. So you didn't really feel, probably it was a time out, it wasn't ideal at the time,
Right.
but your conscience kept going.
Yeah.
For me, the people who give up and totally lose themselves, succumb to it, and
say,
just
that's
not for me and I can't do this.
Yeah.
And they just give in.
Right.
And then they come with sickness and comorbidities and all that. That's failure.
But as Niall say, he still finished the marathon. He
Yeah,
still went.
yeah.
He attempted it and he finished it.
But fellas, I liken the brotherhood here. I like any energy, I like any positive feedback. But the point I want to go back to any discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
The task at hand here was the fitness regime.
Yes.
Right? Of what I had engaged with regards to you.
Yes.
The marathon, right? That was a separate goal. That was something that I wanted to do this in order to accomplish the other thing better. So yes, I finished the marathon. And yes, doing a marathon, for those who know, 26.2 miles, in this case from Freeport all the way to Whitehall in blistering sun is not an easy task. But
I love the plug, by the way.
yeah. But within that, there was a failure of a task. And I don't know you don't want to use the word failure at this point, but I would say my fitness now and losing some weight, I mean, I'm still not there, is people know me, know I'm an avid hiker. So doing 18-mile hikes and in the bush and things like that will lose you some weight.
Yeah.
Also pickleball. Yes, I'm plugging pickleball here today as well. And intermittent fasting, just trying to eat healthier. Staying away from processed sugars.
I love that topic.
So here my question then. So is it that, yes, you wanted to do the marathon, but you really wanted to look swole? You really wanted to get the aesthetics that going along with it?
But on the show I talk the truth. Absolutely.
Okay.
I want to walk. I want to do half the marathon.
Something good there. You opened up something nice there.
I want to do half the marathon with my shirt off.
Yeah, no, you opened up something there because that brings to the question: what was the strength of your why?
Exactly. That's
The
what
strength of
I
your
was
why,
asking.
and many people had asked themselves that because I always tell my clients: if you come in with a weak why, you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Okay.
Your why has to be something more than just aesthetic looks and most of the times I'll tell you, from an individual perspective, a personal why, don't cut it.
This is it.
Your why, for me, the success of me came because my why was my children.
Right.
Was making
has to be
sure
something bigger than you.
that my children get the life they deserve.
Okay.
So in the times when my back against the wall and I under real discomfort because of the repetitious nature of what I have to do, and I want to give up and stop. Sometimes I say, man, I could be watching Netflix and chilling like everybody else. But I see the life for my children down the road, the life I didn't have. And that why was stronger than any personal why I could have.
So the way I do everything in my life, having crossed 40, I don't want to comment on my 50 now, right? But having crossed 40, let's go back to that. Yeah. Will be, was, and I try in everything, in every presentation, every hosting, every production, most things that I do, I go back to a template in my head asking the why. And not W-H-Y, just I have the and I have why.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I work backwards from that. What is the real reason?
Yeah.
Because you may say, okay, for example, you're doing something and as you just said, I want to be fit. But when you start to dig deeper and you introspect and you go through so many other phases and stages in doing that, the why becomes a bit clearer and you can be honest with yourself. Yes, you want to be fitter. Who are you trying to please? What are you doing this for? It could be comorbidities. It could be to look good. It could be to get likes. You have to really get to the core and answer that question very honestly. Nothing's wrong with wanting a good body and all the rest of it. But you have to address the real reason because that is what is going to give you consistency. Now, you mentioned something there with regards to, which is a whole other topic, but something we could touch on briefly, which is when we always look at something, a higher purpose outside of ourselves.
Yes.
And that I always ask myself then, are we really then having full self-love?
Yeah.
Because if we need to then look at, in your case, your children, and when someone else's case about, I'm doing this because I want to help these people, why is it we can't simply do it and remain consistent? Because we recognize that this temple, which is the only thing that we are fully responsible for,
And
need-
gifted.
and
Gifted. Yeah.
needs to engage to be able to do all of these things. That should be the why.
Okay.
But yet still, I need to know that I'm doing it for somebody else or for some other reason to remain consistent.
Yeah.
When I should just be, hey, this
And-
is for
and-
myself. This is enough.
And I strongly think it's because of how society is made up and the influences that we have on a daily basis. I mean, we've been very real, right? We
That's
have
the
a
show,
lot
that's the
of
show, Dex.
successful, highly educated people who can't and who don't have the discipline. I mean, part of it is a prefrontal cortex. That's the front part of your brain that enables you to make tough decisions in hard times. So a lot of bright people in the hippocampus, the back region, even the mid-singular cortex strong. That's the bright people, good memory, long-term and short-term memory, bright. There are 4 degrees. But you see that hippocampus in front? That is a part of the brain that really requires practice. You really have to practice the art of discipline. And the art of discipline comes from a lot of sacrifice. Firstly, understanding what you want to achieve and making a plan and sticking to it no matter what. Because you will be motivated. You see why I think people fail when they have personal goals is because motivation will come and go. You get up in the morning and you're motivated to be like that picture and you're motivated to be like that person on Instagram. But it's very hard because motivation comes and goes
Just like
based
love.
on your feeling, based on what coming up. It might be carnival, it might be summer, it might be a trip. You're highly motivated. But what will carry you through a consistent discipline pattern that will give you longevity and consistency? It has to be something more organized. And you have to organize here because it's a continuous battle. I was telling you about the push-up challenge that I'm doing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
For 365 days, I reached 290 days, doing 350 push-ups every day. For 290 days, 290 was this morning, without missing a day. Traveling to about 5 different countries, doing it on vacation, doing it in New York in the snow.
All again, this?
You understand?
You'll
That's
get to
wild,
this
though.
300 some, and I think in 3 sessions. So I
Well,
know
yeah, yesterday was the first time I was able to do 350 in 3 sets. But I'm saying it took me 289 days, a consistent activity to master that 3 sets. Because I say I have to. So I did 100, 120, and 130. No stopping it. This is continuous without stopping.
proper form.
Proper
You know,
form.
well, it
Proper
makes sense
form.
now.
You mean because, I mean, think it.
And I'm here struggling with my 30.
Think it, after 289 days, you didn't think your form should be good?
True.
You understand? I'm doing 350 push-ups. But the story behind that is not the actual push-ups, but the sacrifices that I make en route. I get caught in so many situations. I get caught with my son up at the aquatic center, swimming one Sunday, and I forget.
Right.
And I say, nah, I ain't gonna do that when I go, man. I wanna shower and rock back and watch TV. I stay right on the roadside. And some
knock
people
them
pass videotaping, what this man doing? But I wanna knock it out of the way. But it made me very uncomfortable many times that I decided to create this program, this schedule, so that I would not miss. And that is basically what we don't do. As human beings, we have to create this ideal program and schedule for ourselves that is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. Because when you look at it in 24 hours, if we can put aside 1 hour exercise, that is for our self-care, our longevity, for quality of life. I always tell my clients, you don't want to be dependent on nobody
True.
at 70 and 80.
True.
You understand? My son done tell me you want to put me in a best all-inclusive home already. I say, you ain't putting me in no home. You understand? Say, Daddy, going to be a real best home. You
It'll be
understand?
best. It'll be best.
That's not happening. And that's jokingly, but at the same time, that is where people end up.
For
Well,
real.
they say
You understand?
if you're not intent on looking after your wellness, your illness will certainly meet you.
Yes, we have real problems until we get sick, and then we have one problem.
Correct.
That early
Watch
age,
me.
though.
like that.
With that sickness, one, because everything is going.
Nothing else
Nothing else
matters,
matters
so.
because the work that you're running down. I had a doctor who refused to come on the program because she said she had too much surgeries. And I said, Doc, you're getting some nil niggles and things. I hope that you make the right decision. 2 months after she called me, she said, Dexter, had to come. I get a small heart attack. So all these surgeries, and I told her, I said, all these surgeries you was talking about, I say, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help other people. So now she was forced to stop. She couldn't help them by force.
had to
You
help
understand?
herself
Instead of
first.
planning for it so that would not happen. And it happened to her. So we cannot even help ourselves to run job, ambition, education. We cannot do anything unless we had a ground in our health.
Well, like they say, even with a flight attendant, you have to put your life jacket on first. You have
Always
to put
tell
your
you that.
oxygen
They
mask first.
always
So you
tell you
help
that.
others.
You can't. You
Put
simply
on your,
can't give less.
yes, when
You
oxygen drop, put it on first.
You simply cannot give what you
Yeah.
don't have.
Yeah.
How can I give you 30-40% of love if I have 10% for myself?
Correct.
Oof.
You-
Okay.
you know,
Jumping dimes today, boy.
You simply can't
Yeah,
give what you
yeah.
don't have. And with that one, we'll take a break. We're coming back with discipline and consistency. Both mesh like bread and butter.
This is manhood, and we're talking about discipline, consistency, and self-care. And Rob, in the break, we were having a little discussion there, and I want to bring it up, because I think it's important for people to hear. I was driving through Cookreet with a friend a couple of weeks ago, and en route to Diego Martin, and a car fly by, and he was like startled there, and then I see him pick up the phone, and he called, and he said, "Where's Granny?" And he looked at me, the person obviously answered. He looked at me and said, "Dex, you can't believe." I said, "What happened?" Yeah, that's Granny going down the road there with her pace,
Granny driving the car just as how she
91
feel.
years old. Watch me. So I was making a joke after giving the story a couple of times and say, "Boy, I was living seeing Granny, she's so drop low." 91 years old.
Wow.
Driving, going to the grocery. And the point was, because I asked him, I said, "But what going on, Granny? What caused that?" He said, "Granny, always exercising, boy. She has always been exercising, and she have this routine that she does every single day. You understand? That enables her to be independent up to 91 years driving."
So we talking discipline and consistency. That's a perfect example. Discipline and the consistency over the years to continue doing it. And these things I'm sure get easier as you go along, because you mentioned the 300 plus days doing 300 and something push-ups.
Yeah.
Nothing's easy at the start.
Yes.
It's
But
never easy.
It's never easy. But it's like going to the gym less. When you eventually start to see a little cut.
Especially if you're not accustomed. You see, if your body accustomed to being lazy, or you see the shift to try to do something is
Correct.
never going to be easy.
Correct.
Your brain and your bodies remember. You would say, all right, like for example, I just exercise and things. So I might go and take a little jog. Say, I want to see if I run a little 5K.
Right.
1 kilometer in, you start to feel pain. Your chest start to hurt you. But all that is just your mind saying, "Hey, boy, we're
Stop.
running for.
What you doing?
Stop.
Stop.
Well, yeah, I just call it the little man.
Yeah.
Just have a little man on your shoulder.
Yeah, take
You
a
understand?
break, you
Telling
know?
you stop.
Take a little walk
Yeah.
now, take a little breath. You don't have to run 5, you could run 3, whatever.
Right.
But after a while, once you ignore that, the pain is just,
Correct.
and nobody telling you nothing, you're running 5K straight and you're fine. It just, as I read this book, Atomic Habits,
Right. That's actually
a
great
little
book.
shift, just a little shifts in things you need to do to encourage yourself. For example, you want to run, put your running shoes by the door. When you see it, it'll trigger, okay, I need to go and run. So those things will help you get the habit in. And once you start to grow into the habit, it ends up staying with you, because we all like bad habits.
Sure.
So I want to plug on to
Bad
that.
habits easy.
I'll plug
Bad
on to
habits
that.
easy.
You see, we were talking about the frontal cortex, the mid-singular cortex, and the hippocampus. You see the mid-singular cortex? That is the mid portion of the brain that every time you do something uncomfortable, you see when you reach that mile and you keep going, it develops it. You get up in the morning and you don't want to exercise, it develops it. You know that you have to go to bed by 10 o'clock in the night and you get in bed by 10, it develops it. Every single action that you make that you do not want to do, it develops that mid-singular cortex. And that is why it's important to be uncomfortable doing something every day. Even if it's target being punctual, being on time. And that is something that you're not necessarily so adapt to, do it one
Simple
day.
thing like getting up before the sun wake up, it get rise in the morning.
Do something uncomfortable every day. Now,
Everyday
sometimes
chase a discomfort.
a discomfort. Now, sometimes the discomfort has come to us. You
Yeah,
understand? We
yeah.
don't have to choose. And we just deal with
But
it.
you're responsible for your own behavior at that point, and you could choose to either be
Yes.
happy about it or not react it.
Yes.
Maybe not happy about the situation, but simply not react in a particular way.
Yeah.
But as you spoke about the book Atomic Habits, I was also in that they speak about something, and there's a follow book to that which is called Make Your Bed, and the simple habit of making your bed is a form of discipline. But what it says is that if nothing else, when you come back home, you know that you've accomplished that.
Yes.
At
That
least
you,
that. At least
At
that
least
one
that.
thing.
Yeah.
You start off with something very small.
Yeah.
That really and truly, they tell you don't. In certain cases, they tell you for cleanliness, and even though you're washing your sheets regularly, when you make your bed, the moisture that you get from the bed underneath could encourage bed bugs, and there's a whole other conversation. But I'm saying that the simple act of doing that states that you know that I've done something. I've started my day off with this small thing where you get up and you stretch, something that makes you uncomfortable, or you don't have time to do all of these things. So that when you come back home, you know, hey, something was accomplished. You can put a
and
mark
Robert,
on that.
you know basically what you're doing with that act? It's starting to structure your day. That's what it is.
It.
You starting to structure your day. So when people start up at a day and it ad hoc and it have no kind of structure, they end up all over the place.
Because a habit's a habit.
Structure. It's structure.
So discipline is structure.
Discipline is repeated, doing something repeatedly every day, regardless if you feel to do it or not.
Also, like
regardless if you feel to do it or not. That is
if
discipline.
it's set some small goals, you have about 5 things you just want to accomplish during the day. You just put it up on the wall or something. You come home and you tick off that, and that just give you.
And simple as that.
You come home and you tick off
Simple as that.
You see that accomplished, and that make you feel that.
I was talking to a client yesterday, and the client told me that she is really busy. She said, I'm busy and I can't get time to exercise and that kind of thing. I said, you can't get time in 24 hours to do 2 hours exercise because they have morning workout and evening. And she replied, she said, no, you put it that way. I can't be that busy. I say, it's just a sacrifice because that 2 hours going to bring back so many more years. Quality life, happiness, longevity, less cost they're going to spend in the hospital, unnecessary issues and family stress. That 2 hours a day. And most people only need 1 hour. But most of the times you don't look at it in that. From that perspective. 1 hour to 24. You understand?
Well, out of 16, because 8 of them are supposed to be sleeping.
I still say 24. Because you could, in some cases, sacrifice that and all.
Okay, that's true.
You understand?
That's true.
Because I have done some things already because I am one of the trainers who I am very, very, I think it is important for every trainer to understand how their client feel. Do not give something to a client that you can't do or you're not doing yourself. So trainers who out of shape and thing and they're telling the diet, but it is a pet peeve with me. So I am one day I said, I'm giving my clients all of these tasks. My clients do some crazy things. We have 48-hour challenge where over 2 days you're training every 2 hours for 2 hours and over 2 days throughout the night. And I say, you know what? I say, let me test myself to see if I'm the real deal. I say, let me do something real uncomfortable. I say, Dexter, after doing 54 international bodybuilding shows, what you could do that could be real uncomfortable. I say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to wake myself up at an unplanned time in the night and go out on the road, which is a hill, and run. And I saw what they felt because at about 1:30 in the tick of my sleep, I said, now is the time to get up. I said, get up. You understand? Man up. And I put my one foot off the bed, and I started questioning myself. Yeah, the questions now. You really have to do this?
Right.
You real fit? Yeah. We will improve.
Right.
And I started to feel what my clients feeling. And I said, Dexter, no, you have to swing back to the exact things they tell people. You have to go through it. I take the next foot off, and I put on my clothes, and I went outside the road, and I started
crawl yourself.
And I doing it there. And I say, nah, boy, 1 hill is enough. And then after a little while, just as you say, the start is be hard. After about 2 hills, 3 hills, I get into the momentum. I say, yes, I do 20. I went back inside, I shower, I went to my bed. And I get up in the morning, I give them the story. You understand?
So they say, do as I do. Sorry, do as I say, but don't do as I do. But let me ask you something with that story. What was the real why?
The real why was to ensure that I am the real deal and I'm not fake. I needed to convince and know that for myself, that I'm not asking people to do something that I'm not willing to do. So when I tell you, we start in a session 12 o'clock in the night, and I see you in get to your bed, and I scolding you, I feel comfortable scolding you because I know I will put myself through the exact same thing. That I will get up and do it. You understand? I can't be fake. You understand?
One of the things, my son swims at Marlins, and there are times that he comes home from school and he's 8, and I try not to push too much, because I grew up as a Bovel, having to swim day and night.
Right.
And I always said that I wanted him to at least enjoy it, but it does give you certainly a form of discipline.
Tremendous.
And ironically, his coach was my coach when I was younger, and I would say to him, on the days that you don't want to go, for reasons that are simply I'm feeling tired or I just don't want to go, are the days that you're going to go, because it is those times are going to be the times that you have the discipline. You're going to put the discipline. When you don't want to do something, when you don't want to go to the gym, all of these things is when you go. Because you know what? When you do it, like you said about the hill, and you don't want to go to the gym, or you don't want to go get off your bed, or he doesn't want to go swimming, when he comes back, he's happiest.
That's the same mid-singular cortex I talk about. That's the developmental part of that. It's the same,
Now, I did tell him, I said, if you tell me when a day you're happy, and you're going and your friends are there and you're swimming and you had a good time, that you want to give up, that's different. Because I'm not going to force you into something, right? But it can't be, you talk about people like Michael Phelps and Usain Bolt and all the greats have the same mindset with that discipline and consistency. It is on the days that you don't want to do it is when they get up and they train harder. I was telling you about Muhammad Ali. In the moments he's in his pain is when he starts his count for training. It is in those moments where you really dig deep and you train harder. You're on the court before, or you're on the football field before and after everyone is left. That's what makes the difference in that consistency.
Let's not cut it. Pain is the pathway for progress.
Correct.
Pain and discomfort is the conduit for progress.
Well, as
There's
I said,
absolutely no time I've ever achieved anything without discomfort.
So because before you continue, because people have discipline, but in the wrong things. Because if you talk about discipline, is the consistency of doing something, right?
I wouldn't say discipline. I'll say they're highly motivated, because discipline is a very holistic tool.
Yeah, I agree.
Once you're a disciplined camper, you could actually infiltrate all different parts of your life and actually administer that discipline.
What I would say to you, Niall, is a habit is a habit.
Yes.
Okay.
They're
A
good
bad
at certain
habit or
things.
a good habit is the same. It's still a habit.
They're good at certain things, but discipline,
Yeah.
they don't have. They're very good at certain things.
So as I was telling you,
okay.
in terms of that quote, and I remember it now as we were talking, where it talks about the pain of discipline is far less than the pain of regret.
Yes.
Pain of discipline.
Yes. It's
Right?
far less than the pain of regret.
It's far less
And
than
it
the pain
is
of regret.
something that I tell my son as a national swimmer. And he threw it back in my face a couple of weeks ago. He had a swim meet, and I said, Aidan, buy some food. They want to take a taste of it. He said, Daddy, you want me to regret on Sunday? What? I said, no. You want me to have regrets? And that is what we fail to recognize sometimes, because we are overwhelmed with the task and the ideology of doing this thing, not paying attention to how we would feel when we don't accomplish, and after when we disappoint not ourselves, but maybe family and friends and co-workers, because we incapable to realize that it requires some being uncomfortable to achieve certain things.
So I want to come back to
until it become comfortable.
And that is where
Correct.
discipline is.
And that's-
So
Yeah,
discipline is a
coming.
repeated act of doing something over and over, just like the push-ups are doing, until you become very comfortable in discomfort.
that's what I wanted to bring up. Comfortable in the
discomfort.
discomfort, because it's not like,
Yeah.
okay, well, as in Dexter's case, you're doing 300 push-ups. What it took to get there caused a lot of discomfort, but discipline to do that and consistency, the why, right? However, knowing this guy, now that he's reached 300, do you sit there and go, okay, now I'm fit? Now you have to shake things up again.
Yeah.
Well, not just maintain it. You gotta now tell yourself, hey, now I maybe gotta hit 400. Because you don't sit there just doing 300,
Correct.
because your body as well
Correct.
is
It's going to
how
adapt. Yeah.
is going to adapt to that.
Yeah.
So it's really becoming a new person. It is the person that you are now, and then there's the person who you want to be, and discipline is the bridge between those two.
And,
Yeah, but
I
also-
would say too, it would becoming the person that you ought to be, that you
Ought to
always
be.
design. Because I have clients who came in just like, just if not even understanding where they were, and have become some of the most fantastic, outstanding individuals. Not just physical prowess, but I have clients who have went on to do their masters and their PhD and open businesses and get married and have children and accomplish things, because they now have a better framework of what they're capable of doing.
So we need to go to a break. But before we go to the break, Niall, it's just simply say that discipline and consistency, that consistency to be disciplined is not something that everyone does alone. So like in terms of Dexter, there's groups, there's people that push you, there's people
Community is the best
who
thing for that.
understand what you're going through.
Accountability.
And
Like-minded
accountability.
people.
Like-minded
People that
people.
push
So
the
it's
same energy.
your circle.
Trials and tribulations,
But not even
Yeah.
same energy, because in certain areas, sometimes you are there and you realize, it happens in fitness too. You're doing something, and the fact that there have times I would admit it. I know I going on a real intense hike. It's about 18 miles, and 18 miles in the mountain is tough.
That is
and
very
it's,
tough.
It's maneuvering certain things. There's all sorts
It's
of
different temperature
it's
and all kind of
technical
terrain
temperature.
and
And when I know, for example, if I play a hard pickleball and I have a back pain and all these things, I check in to see who in the group, right? The less.
Yes.
That I know
Yes.
to myself that,
Yes.
okay, I know the weak link.
I know I had a that one.
I know.
Yes,
There's an African proverb that states that, you don't have to outrun the lion.
Outrun the last person.
You have to outrun your partner. Whatever you think, right? So I don't know the specific, but it just says you never have to outrun the lion. Just don't be the last person,
Yes.
right? And so, but that in itself is a driving force, because you're still accomplishing the task. You still feel there's something in that. And that's not just saying, hey, it is not a case of saying I'm better than the person. It's just saying that there's someone now that okay, in your mindset, it gives you an additional pull to say that I'm not letting anybody down. And instead, what I'm doing here is I'm assisting somebody.
Yes.
Because you're now
Yes.
pulling somebody along
Yes.
to achieve the task, knowing
Yes.
full well that you
Yes.
don't have the fitness that person in front of
Yes.
you has, but you have more than that person. But
Yes.
instead of being in an environment of, I'm better than you, it's
Yes.
like, okay, well, let me now give a hand to a brother
Yes.
or sister
Yes.
to move us along so that
Yeah.
we all eventually complete the task.
Yeah.
And that is the importance of, as I'm saying to you, it's not always that you're in a circle where everybody's better than you. Because we hear those things all the time, but they say, always be in a circle that's better than you. But if everyone had that mindset, how is that being achieved? Because somebody has to be learning. I don't want to use the word failure. Somebody has to be learning to that. And I just want, before we go to the break, just to say that, as you mentioned, as we started off talking about your grandmother, my wife,
grandmother.
your
My
friend
friend's
grandmother,
grandmother,
91 years old, and I'm amazed by these things, because my wife's father celebrated his 90th birthday the other day, and she sent me a video of him to dollar wine going down on the ground, his version of whining, and doing push-ups, etc. And every day this man does 100 push-ups, and
He's 90?
90 years old, right? And
He doing push-ups, they say too?
push-ups, going down, jumping up, and I
My
think to
grandpa is
myself,
103.
when I
He
jump
could
up, I
whine,
hear
but he
a
could do
crack.
no push-up.
So the thing is, there are forms of discipline and consistency, and not everyone is conscious
But that's a major point to
of
talk
that.
about there, yeah.
So we're gonna come back from the
Yes,
break, and we're gonna
we're
start
gonna
off
touch
with
on that, yeah.
Discipline and consistency. This is man.
Welcome back. This is Manhood, and we're talking about discipline and consistency, right? But I wanted to mention, we're talking about healthcare a lot, but it have other places that discipline have to be applied to, especially in the newer generations. Like for me, my main thing that I'm trying to get more discipline with is on social media, right? The content is king now. Any and every business, you have to be on social media to say that you're doing something, right? And the best and tried true method on getting anything done, especially on social media, is you have to be consistent with it. You have to be putting out your message every day. You have to be doing the effort. So I could...
As the algorithm, you have to.
But me listening to you guys, and I'm hearing you need, and for me, I try my best to make real excuses.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We're too bright as humans, especially men, and we able to, because I real good at, I able to make up the best excuse in my mind to tell me not to do it today. And has always been so convincing.
So wait, I just wanted to pause there, because I don't let me have to do the disclaimer box, right? Where you say we bright, especially men. You're talking about the procrastination is especially men. Procrastinate, not the bright, because then you're saying that the assumption there is that you're saying that men are brighter than. And I want to make sure
Yeah,
that
and-
that's a Nile,
and actually, I
that's
would
a
say
Nile
that's not true at
statement,
all.
right?
Did you?
I
Did
will
you?
actually say, I didn't hear that. I
you hear that from
I
what
didn't
I
get
said?
that. I didn't get
Okay.
that.
But that's what I'm
Maybe
saying. I'm
maybe
trying
he
to
tried to
clarify.
get to say something. I don't know.
No, Dex, I
didn't
trying to
get that.
clarify. That's,
But you
that's-
try to find the message.
You want to
I'll
make
mention
sure
that.
that it didn't come out there like that.
Yeah.
That is
You
not
understand?
Okay.
what I
Let's
meant
clarify.
at all.
Right.
Yes,
Rewind.
I was just reiterating that we are men,
Okay.
right? And I'm speaking from a male perspective,
Right.
And the brightness I was talking about is the ability to
Right.
convince not only yourself but others.
Chain up.
Yes.
Chain up, right?
Say, chain up yourself.
I'm so good with the chain up
Yeah.
that has chained up myself to
Right,
not do the
right,
right thing.
right.
Yeah,
You
And
trip
that's
over
the
yourself,
problem.
yeah, yeah.
So going back to the realization, and now hearing you talking, right? The realization that you're really trying to become a new person
Yes.
because every disciplinary act that you're doing is a lifestyle change. It's forever. It's for the rest of your life. It's what you're trying to accomplish. You want to learn Spanish? You want to have the discipline to be able to go through that? It's because you really want to become a Spanish speaker.
Yeah.
You want to be good in fitness. You are going to be an exerciser for the rest of your life.
Yes.
And that's what it not really dawning on me is that I have to be disciplined. You have to tell yourself, I am no longer the Nile I was yesterday. I am now this new Nile, and I'm now forcing my way through the discomfort to become him.
No, wait,
And that's
no,
how-
no,
that's
wait,
Probably
wait.
better version of Nile.
Yeah.
Here,
Yes.
twisted that. No, I disagree. Not necessarily better version.
It's not the better, a different version.
Different because is in his story, in the story of Niall McNish, right? It's just another chapter or another paragraph
Yes.
or another sentence
Yes.
or another word that is being used, right? There's a alternate to that. Now you making something with the why to better yourself, to improve, to get a particular goal or to achieve something is certainly in this case discipline. To do that might not be easy. So you become, because that's where you want to be, you're becoming a better version of yourself.
Yes.
But not doing it still is transformational.
Also.
Because by not doing it, I always remember, Oprah saying it. Don't wait 20 years to do what you could have done 20 years ago.
Yes.
Right? So sitting down on a couch and procrastinating or being in a rut and saying, boy, one day I go learn Spanish, or downloading the
Yes.
apps,
Yeah.
they're very good at the same.
I've done that.
Somebody on the other end is
Yeah.
very good at that social media to make sure in your algorithm it's popping up. And many people, like Amazon, buy stuff and it parks up. You download an app, I'm gonna listen to this app. They have all the right things to say and you don't use it. So without that discipline, you are still you're still transforming. You are becoming something, just guess what? That you don't want to be. But it is still a change. Because
correct. I agree.
every day passes,
I
it
agree.
is still becoming less
I agree,
than.
and I understand your point.
Which is still becoming
Yes,
something.
I understand. But let's ask ourselves this question. From a personal point of view, what really determines an individual ability to make consistent, real changes in the self from a lifestyle point of view? What do you think would be the best driving force? Because there's a new a viewpoint now with the multimillionaires and billionaires around the world. They're looking at them and they are looked upon as the 5 a.m. club. The men and the women who get up first thing in the morning and do what? Because we get right back to all of be trying to diversify the conversation into other parts.
Meditate?
No, exercise. Exercise. And that is real because it tells a story. There's a statement that it says that you can tell a person who is fit, you understand by looking at a fit person, certain things happening with that fit person. They're disciplined, they have delayed gratification, they're self-motivated, they're well-structured. You understand? They could have a goal and set it and achieve it. At the end of the day, whether it be spirituality, relationship, whatever the struggle is, this is me saying that the greatest guiding force and strength behind it would always be from a place of fitness.
That makes sense. You know why?
Always.
You know why that makes sense? Is because the same way how making your bed in the morning is that one thing that you could do, fitness or exercising is that as a human is the one thing you could do to maximize the rest of your life, essentially, as opposed to making your bed to maximize your day.
All
Okay.
sounds
That's
good.
what,
Eh?
that's what
Okay.
connect.
No,
That's what
but
connecting.
all sounds great. Yeah, you do this to live longer, do all of these different things. But guess what? You're in a rut, procrastinators, all of these things. Because how many times, even in what you're doing, someone says, yeah, read this, do that. But it's human nature.
But that's where I find community.
Correct.
And that's where I find people who would lead you.
Correct.
You understand?
Correct.
And we talk about accountability and motivating others that you spoke about on the hike. I have groups where they have 200 people in one group, and I have groups with thousands of people in it. And in that 200 people, you'll have people who are struggling and people who are doing fantastic. And you know what I do with the people who are doing fantastic? I make them have accountability to everything they do every day and write it in the group so the others who are not doing as well could understand that they could reach there also. Mm-hmm. You're talking about the back of the hike and the front of the hike. And that's where the community comes in. A lot of people try to do it on their own. And then I will always say that we have so many fantastic, brilliant people just in society, just don't even know how capable they are. Because
I'm
lack
gonna cut you off
knowledge.
there. I'm gonna cut you off there. And just to go back to that group. Many times looking into a group, right? You can have someone who puts in the group, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Now, to a person who's there and has the why and is ready to embrace that, may read that and go, okay, well, this person's doing that. Let me do something too. Let me put my running shoes by the door. Let me do these other things. But if you're in your rut, just like a person who may be overweight, right, is going to still sit there and go, good for you. Or that person had this, and you're going to make a series of excuses in your mind.
Well, that's in a linear group. That's in a group where you're sitting down there, you understand, without support. So if you're in the right group where you have the support,
so
where you have the
coming back to
knowledge and the education coming at you all the time,
Nobody
it is
get
going
left
to
behind.
have a time where you are going to sit up and pay attention. You are going to sit up and
But
pay
the
attention.
accountability, and that's what I want to come
And
back
that
to.
is- yeah.
With this
It
segment,
has to have
talking about
that.
discipline and consistency, having your community, but somebody who literally at some point comes and knocks on your door and say, get up. Let's go. I don't want to. Come on, let's do it. Because more than likely, and I've seen it on hikes where people don't want to go and they go, and they have the most magical time when they do it. They may not want to come back because of snake and cold water and all the other things, but it sends a signal to them.
Yes.
And they want to then do something. You see it when people when you push them to do a 5K.
Correct.
And they accomplish it. You see
Correct.
them wearing the shirts
Correct.
after, really happy about
And the
it.
medals too.
So let's come full circle to my boy here, and we talk about social media and the importance of posting everyday content. The person who I call them backbenchers, my clients know, the person who might be a backbencher who probably might succumb to life challenges and put on some weight or lose the motivation, discipline, but they constantly seeing they post every single day. Get up, do something. We have this 5K here. We have this run. We have a challenge. That is the importance of that, because it is going to strike a chord eventually. It is. That's how I have groups. I have groups of people contact me. And when I check in my WhatsApp, the initial contact was a year ago. Had I not been current on everything I do and consistent, that person went to be motivated. That person went to actually see that they could eventually get up and do it. That person went to consistently be having this thing in the subconscious saying, hey, I need to do better, I need to do better. And eventually one day, boom, they make a decision.
What about the person who goes,
But
"Guys,
if you ain't
not for me,"
posting
and
every day,
exits?
what will happen?
Nobody will see it.
If you ain't posting every day, the one person that you could grab, you know what that person will do? You go fall off the radar because you stopped posting every day and they wasn't reminded constantly until it could trigger something in them. And that's where our responsibility is. Okay. As leaders in society, not only as fitness trainers and stuff, but as parents, as spouse, as leaders in society, we have to be consistent. You understand?
So do you think as a human, everybody could be disciplined?
I certainly feel so.
You think
I
so?
think because
Right
of
community.
geographical locations, circumstances where you grew up, some people with single parents, some people without. I think the support mechanism is just not there. A lot of people could be at their best, let me tell you, aspiration of every human being, regardless, it have an element of vanity in it. I've seen people at every level only saying, boy, the only thing I want to get in my life is a six-pack. And it's the determining factor. Regardless of what Donald Trump said it some weeks ago, he pointed out a man in the crowd. He pointed out a man in the crowd and said, I have to acknowledge how great you look in that shirt. But the only thing is that I always wanted to have a body like you, but I've never been able to stick to it. And he's the president of the United States. And that is the one thing that eludes him. He was just man enough because he go come out and say it publicly. Right. But how many people have it inside and not saying it publicly?
Not saying it, right?
Facts. And we have so many people in Trinidad who going awry because they're going down the road in destitution and poor health and stuff, just because we don't have the tools and the mechanism to reach out to them and educate them.
Well, the other term I heard is people want to be, they say piper strong. You ever hear that?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. That negative budget, we have that deficit in the major budget of health, that could cut down by 60% if we get out there. We have people like myself who have the knowledge, and simple tweaks in your life will change your whole life. A lot of people walking on with high blood pressure and hypertension just didn't even understand that a major cause of that is just dehydration from drinking not drinking enough water. Simple.
Even
simple like that.
I struggle with drinking water.
And that's where your elevated blood rate come from, your heart rate come from, and hypertension. So many people could be cured from, but we just not. I wish I could get out there. I beg for help to get it out in society. That the thousands of people I have cured, I could cure thousands and hundreds of thousands more. You understand? It's just simple tweaks in our life. I am of the honest opinion that everybody could get and have the health they deserve if they have the education and the knowledge. Simple.
Plain talk, bad man.
Plain talk.
Plain talk, bad man.
You might end up closing down all the fast food outlets and then that will be a problem.
Nah, that's one thing. Let me tell you something. No, that's a good point you bring there.
No, but buddy, I'm not trying to go down that road in this show, right?
Eating is not the problem,
Right.
Eating fast food and things is not the problem,
No.
The problem is not exercising. The problem is not exercising.
Burn off the rubbish.
Calories in, calories out, energy in, energy. Let me tell you something. They say that a man who smokes and drinks and does everything negative but exercises will outlive a man who smokes and drinks and does not exercise.
So there's you mentioned earlier in your conversation in your wording about many things that happen with regards to a disciplined mind and the 5 a.m. club and what leaders do and billionaires and millionaires, and part of that waking up is exercise instead of making your bed. They probably
and
do
that's
that
the self-care. Well. They call it self-care and self-love.
But a big part of that, you see that word delayed gratification?
Yeah, that's real.
That's a real, on so many levels, that could impact in your life. And I mean, not so much in a closing statement, but just to say that delayed gratification in all aspects of your life definitely breeds a culture of that discipline that we're looking for. Something as simple as I mentioned to you when you asked about, what am I doing? Pickleball, a lot of hiking, intermittent fasting. And a big part of that is, even with fast foods or processed sugar, because having sugar is one thing. I mean, sugar is sugar, whether it's honey, whether it's natural sugar.
Yeah, whether it's rice, whether it's bread, whether it's
in your body is sugar. Your body takes it as sugar, right?
Flour, everything is sugar.
Everything is sugar, right? But processed sugar, on the other hand, and that refined sugar is a whole other level. And sometimes I see it and I feel it where I love a chocolate.
Yeah.
And you're going to do something and you say, okay, you know what? You eat that chocolate bar or you eat a KFC or whatever the case may be, and almost immediately after, you get that little rush. You regret it. And if you had just delayed that and found something else to do, walk outside the house, go upstairs and something, take another shower. I don't care if you just came out of the shower. Something, just a switch, just to course correct that initial thought, to trick your brain. We spoke about brightness and chain yourself up to do something different to avoid that. And then guess what? When you do that small act, as we talk about atomic habits, and you do that small act, you remind yourself, hey, it's almost like a pride in that chain up, because you remember or recall how you would have felt when you did it. And now that you have avoided that, and you say you go to sleep without eating that, and you wake up the next morning, I'm glad I'm glad I didn't have that sugar.
So
or
Robert,
that
let me
chocolate.
challenge you with something. Let me challenge you with something. What about if we had a life that we did not have to have delayed gratification? What about if we had a life that was planned so well that we didn't have to feel bad about eating the KFC and the chocolate and that kind of thing? You ever thought about that? Because there's that life. There is that life. We have where you can be disciplined for a portion of the week and very undisciplined without undoing the major part of the week.
Like, so
We call it a 80-20.
all our weighing food and all them. I know that's discipline.
That's
but
to get you to a point.
Right.
So you get to a point where now you can have a balanced life. And this is what I'm talking about, the balanced life. Because I eat everything under the sun. Every single thing. KFC, roti, lasagna, chocolate thing, everything. Drink, smoke, weed, everything. Everything. I do. But my delayed gratification, as you're talking about, is during the week. So I have that. Allows me to have that balance on the weekend. And that is what we don't have. Coming right back to discipline, when we talk about structure,
Yep.
we talk about structure.
Right.
Getting up in the morning and making up your bed is creating structure.
Yeah.
So if we create structure, you understand, which is the predominant part of the week, and we say, I am going to have this discipline for the 5 days a week. I'm going to secure my health. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat the right foods, my vegetables, and I'm going to drink more water so I ain't going to have high blood pressure. On the weekend, you could free up yourself. So you would not have to have that. And that is why I say every individual in Trinidad could have the health they deserve if they get the education and the knowledge.
So we should be supposed to be teaching this thing in school then?
We're supposed
Is
to be
what PE
teaching this.
supposed to be?
The knowledge that I have that I've changed thousands of people, supposed to be taught from, I have a youth group. Parents bring their children from the age of 7, 8, 9, 10, and they learn these things. Obese children who lose 30 and 40, and children not supposed to diet. You just have to balance the meals. It's the portions that we eat. It's the portions that we eat in the absence of exercise.
Yeah.
And then we have intermittent fasting, which is critical to be able to do because there's a difference between that and missing meals. You ever looked at most people who will miss meals is the ones who come obese. And they come to me and say, but Dexter, I don't eat plenty, but look how big I am.
When I say miss meals, like
Yes, let me tell you why. Because one of the things with intermittent fasting that they don't tell you about is intermittent fasting is not optimal if you don't have a metabolic rate that will recognize that you're fasting.
so it all depends on your metabolism.
Yes, if you go into intermittent fasting without having had exercise and increasing your metabolic rate, and you starve yourself, what your body's going to do is going to treat it like if I have no reason to burn them calories and I'm going to store.
So the minute
When
you put something
your
else in-
body secrete insulin levels, it fills your
Yeah,
liver.
yeah.
When that liver storage is full because you're not exercising. All the food, the high insulin spike from the sugars and stuff, when your liver is full, it has to go somewhere else. In your back fat, in your bra fat, that's where it goes. You understand? And that is why people who don't eat, but when they do eat because they have no metabolic rate that cannot be utilized,
take
your
everything.
body stores everything and you gain weight.
Because your body's saying, I don't know when I'm going to be eating again.
However,
I get it.
I know we going off on our tangent here,
It's
right?
still discipline.
because
All of this is part of it.
Because in that Dex there's a food answer because when your body's in ketosis.
Yes.
Over a period of time,
Yes.
your brain is now sending another message.
Yes.
Even in that state of it doesn't know because it is now going with your stomach cavity empty.
Yes.
Your body's now saying, "Hey, I still need to feed all the rest of these parts," and it starts to burn.
It starts to burn the fat.
that's in the
That's
other
when
areas of
your body starts to release ketones
Right.
and you go into ketosis.
But I didn't want to go. There's a whole.
Yes.
There's
Yeah, there's
a
a
whole
whole
thing.
thing.
I didn't
Yes.
want to go down
But
that.
of
But
course,
just,
you
just
have
to
to
say
be-
that
it
it's
has
not
to be
as
able to
simple.
recognize that.
Yeah. Just
It
so it's
has
not
to
as
be able-
simple as.
Yeah,
so there
no, it's
is
not. We can't cover that in here. Yeah.
Intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
But let's go around. Discipline and consistency. What
Closing statements.
buddy? There was plenty takeaways.
Nah,
from
real
this one.
takeaways.
Well,
This was fantastic.
I would say, like, for the example, the 5 a.m. club, they get 5 a.m. in the morning, you exercise. You might see it as something small, but the consistency, the habit, the development, you continually doing that, the sky is the limit because the next day you could say, all right, I could get up and I could read this book and I could get up and I could make this or I can learn to do this and that. Everything and it will change your life as you go forward. So that's my takeaway. There always little shifts in your life. You always have bad habits, but try to change from having good habits, and that will develop your whole lifestyle and everything.
Small changes.
Small changes, small shifts.
Become big results. I would definitely say structure. Understanding that the purpose of a human being, as we said, we are gifted this vessel from God to take care of. And if we structure it, this vessel will be able to not only take care of itself, but take care of your family, take care of friends, contribute meaningfully to society, right? Take care of this vessel. And to take care of the vessel, we have to apportion certain things that are non-negotiable, meaning exercise, eating healthy. Non-negotiable. We have to come to terms with the fact that we're burdened with this for the rest of our lives. And the sooner we do that, we will embrace it and it will no longer be a burden.
Okay. I would say that to get something that you never had, you have to become somebody that you never was. Right? And to add to that, I would also say to the people who might be struggling at home, where it's okay to call yourself a failure, because I look at failure as a badge of honor, because there are a lot of people who never tried.
Yep.
And that to me is true failure.
Yep.
Failure actually means
Yep.
that you actually attempted something.
I totally agree with that.
So the goal is just to try to get the space between failures shorter and shorter
Yep.
until it's no longer there.
Become success. I agree. I have to agree with that. Failure is the pathway to success. Every failed story gives you a story to not let it happen again.
Fail forward.
Yeah, fail forward. Yeah.
So, a very rich conversation here again, guys. Discipline and consistency. Even in that failure, it's the recognition of failing to do something and continuing to get up and continue and doing it is therefore not failure.
Correct. I agree.
Sitting down in that lull and not doing something is where you fail on yourself.
You fail yourself. Yeah.
My takeaway here today, gents, community, the importance of community. Community that is valuable.
Have to agree with you.
Persons that are there to drive you forward.
Yeah.
And the recognition, even in that community, of persons who are not there to drive you forward.
Yeah.
In the case I mentioned about the hiking, having someone there, I could have said, "Yeah, I'm better than that person," and just be ahead of that person, but I'm not really bettering myself by trying to be in the lead pack. Right? But because you're now taking that in that case and assisting that person to be with the lead pack, it is what was a driving force for me. So community, asking yourself, what is your why? You have to start with that.
Yep.
With any discipline and consistency, you have to ask yourself,
Strong
what
why.
is your why?
Yeah.
Because without that why,
Yeah.
you're not going to be consistent,
Yeah.
you're not going to be disciplined,
Yeah.
you're going to fall off. As I said from the start, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishments. And just to make Niall smile here, I can't remember the specific African proverb, but there's another one that I recall where it says, until the lion learns to write, the hunter will always be glorified.
Okay.
Yeah.
That did make me smile. Thank you.
Yeah,
I like all the phrases. I like all the slogans.
That's a good one. That's a good
So
one. Yeah.
this has been Manhood. Thanks, gents.
It was
Les,
fantastic.
Dexter, Niall. Manhood.
Lessons.
Discipline and consistency.
Want to pressure my face, yeah. Want to pressure my face, hey. Want to pressure my face, I'm in a bus yet. I feel it down in my veins, my blood, sweat, tears. I'm a number, must make it and see success. Mommy must get a house and go fly some plane. Them I'm not gonna make prospects. A lot of seeing by a bad perspective change, but I'm not thought feelings have no stress, no burden and enough that way. So far I got my know them know I see me reach it up at all. My pick the so my dad them I go that. I can't heal and you alone I know the hurt that. Promise myself I'm not gonna dead unless I not check cause them can't me loud. And even them I tell the DJ them for blast that song. Let my music live on and it go la da la da dee da da. Want to pressure my face, I'm in a bus yet. I feel it down in my veins, my blood, sweat, tears. I'm a number, must make it and see success. Mommy must get a house and go fly some plane. Them I'm not gonna make prospects. I know them seeing by a bad perspective change, but I'm not thought feelings have no stress. No burden and enough that way. Them say blah blah blah, cause I'm me at the black sheep, ready for have things. I'm active, yeah. Full of beat like Baptist, them out cold like matches. Coming like bala bala, come Baptist. One team, I one dream, fully active, and I learn. Ella and a lerp. See myself on the stage show. See myself doing all everyone. Mama must make it. God, mama must make it. Yeah, yeah. Y'all gonna have to make some noise for. Mama must make it. Yeah. God, no one must make it. Under pressure, my face, I'm in a bus set. I feel it down in my veins, all my blood, sweat, tears. I'm a mama must make it and see success. Mommy must get a house and go fly some plane. Them tell me I'm not gonna make prospects. And I'm saying bye bye, them perspective change. But I'm not out feelings, have no stress. Enough burden and enough dead weight, yeah.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Lucozade and Solomon's Bespoke.